Welcome to the Globetrottin ADs. This podcast is for you, athletic directors, activity coordinators, coaches, and program associates based in international schools around the world. The Globetrottin ADs is proudly hosted by Nick DeForest from the American International School Vienna and Matt Fleming from the American International School of Budapest. Here they are now, Nick and Matt and the Globetrottin ADs.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Globetrottin ADs. Today, our guest is Drew Hanson. He is the Executive Director of the Canadian Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. So we're going to hear from him and learn about their organization and their outreach programs and PD opportunities for ADs in Canada and worldwide. So we look forward to that. And we're also going to check in. Nick and I are giving some updates about some future happenings with international school athletic associations and other groups, what's going to happen next concerning the COVID-19 crisis and cancellations.
All right. Thanks, Matt. And we definitely want to point out first, we have a new intro that you might have just heard. That was from a good friend of mine, Rod Mahood. So thanks, Rod. He's a professional announcer and has done work for years and years for the Bills, Sabres, and the OHL for the Ice Dogs and kind of everything in Niagara and Southern Ontario. So thanks, Rod. The music is still from a 7th grader at AIS Vienna, Henry, who made that for us. So thanks again to Henry.
Yes, very cool all the way around. Thanks for looking that up, Nick.
Yeah.
Stepping our game up here at the Globetrottin ADs.
Yeah, and then it just goes down in a hurry as soon as that intro's over, right? We also wanted to mention, too, that we didn't forget about our sponsors. We just, I guess we had some special episodes there the last couple times for the conference, but you'll hear from Kukri and Coach Evaluator again in this episode, and we want to thank them and thank them for all they do. I was using Coach Evaluator all last week, checking on our winter season evaluations, and I put my big order with Kukri in for next year also last week, so you'll hear from them pretty soon.
Way to take advantage of this downtime. Get your uniform orders done.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we can use them.
Well, I guess the big news here, Matt, in Europe is that some countries are going back to school, including Austria. So we're in the middle of rolling out the plan to go back to school on May 18th with elementary and middle school.
Yep.
And then June 2nd with high school. And but we're not the only one. Obviously, Denmark's gone back already. Germany, Switzerland are going back in steps like we are. But lots of rules in place, distancing and no PE, unfortunately, no athletics. But in Asia, they're already going back. We've seen lots of good videos, or I have from Pat Hughes, who's gone back to teaching PE with masks and with physical distancing. So I think things are looking a bit better. Hey, on this side, what about in Hungary?
Yeah, it's positive news. Here in Hungary, we're still kind of in a holding pattern as far as distance learning goes and not going back to school yet. The government here has said that for sure schools can't go back in session until the end of May. How that's going to impact our school, it's not certain yet, whether we'll try to go back in June or not. We just had an all-school meeting yesterday with the director, and that's kind of the situation still. We're just kind of in that same pattern. Same goes for our summer camp. They're still uncertain if they'll be able to do that here this summer. So just kind of have to wait and see what happens.
Wait and hope. Well, a lot of us are doing that for our fall seasons, right? Just trying to wait it out. But we had a big CISA meeting this week, and we basically decided that all the fall tournaments are canceled. Hey, Matt?
Yep. Yeah, it's just too risky, or it's too uncertain what the future is going to be in terms of how you can host. Can you have kids in your homes, your host family homes? Are our families willing to let their kids travel to places? What if there is another outbreak or another wave of cancellations, and then we're back in that same situation of canceling trips, canceling flights, and it's a logistical nightmare. So until the situation gets a little more clear and solid, I think it's just in the best interest for everybody, just not do anything for the fall season in our CISA organization. So we'll see what the domino effect is with the other organizations around the world. So far, I think I've only heard about CISA doing that. I know other organizations are going to have their meetings here in the next week or so. I've gotten some emails from other folks and other organizations asking us what's going on or what our plans are. So I suspect in the next week or so, you'll hear other organizations and associations doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just international travel. It's just, who knows, right? So to go through the planning and the reserving tickets and all that for tournaments that might not be able to happen, right? On a good, invitationals will probably be jumping up everywhere, with countries that are close by or maybe schools within a country.
Yeah, like for us, I think we're in a good spot because of our local league, our DVAC league, which is here between schools in Bratislava, Vienna, and Budapest, and some other schools further out in Austria. So hopefully that'll be able to go forward, and we can at least go through with those festivals and those tournaments and give those kids a chance to have a fall season of sorts in some capacity, even though it's not the usual, the big trip and everything you're working for towards the end of the season, traveling away somewhere and going away for 3 or 4 nights. But we'll make the best of it, no doubt, and we'll make it a quality experience for sure. So I'll be looking forward to that if we get the okay to move forward with it. And I look forward to hosting a lot of events. Right.
Yeah,
hopefully.
That DVAC conference is just a day conference, so no overnights, and we can cancel, last minute. We can really leave it up to the last minute.
Yeah, we're really fortunate because those things can be quickly organized or shifted as needed. So we're pretty lucky in that way with the other schools that are part of that league. So that's a good thing.
Yep. Well, other than all that's good stuff, there's still some online learning happening. Matt, you just taught 903 this week, NIAAA course. How did that go?
Yep. Oh, it was great. We had Chris Bishop from the American School of The Hague was co-presenting with me, as well as Doug Kilgore from Arkansas. He's a long-time NIAAA state coordinator and associate, so he was great to work with, and it's the first time we've done it with somebody from the States, so it was good to have his input into the international type course, but he's been familiar with the international school scene and how we operate, so he's got a good grip on it, even though he's not working in the international schools. So he was flexible and funny and good guy to work with, so it was a lot of fun. And
so
we were able to do it.
The last international course will be on Tuesday the 12th, 9:04. So Doug will be back again with myself and Scott Hibbard, and then that'll be all 4 international courses offered online, which is pretty cool. So as soon as that certificate or as soon as that next level of certification is rolled out there, we'll have a lot more people eligible to take the test.
Yep. If you're not familiar, that's Doug. Doug is the Bowtie AD. So he's the guy you'll see around at the NIAAA conference or in other associations or other PD opportunities. He's always the guy in the bow tie. Yep. He's quite the character. A great resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's a good rundown of all the stuff going on and going around in our world right now. Why don't we take a sponsor break, and then we'll come back with Drew.
All right.
If your school is in the market for bespoke sportswear, look no further than Kukri Sports. Kukri has evolved over the last 20 years from a bespoke sportswear manufacturer into a true sportswear partner, firmly believing in the value of sport at all levels. Bespoke teamwear forms a unique part of an individual's sporting story and represents a lasting link to their time in sport. Kukri are proud to play a part in that journey. Every individual can build their own legacy. Kukri Sports creates a sportswear range that inspires as well as performs. Start your journey today. Email the team at contact@kukrisports.com. All
right, folks, welcome back to the Globetrottin ADs, and now we'll turn our thoughts and attention to Drew. Welcome, Drew, from the CIAAA.
Great to be here, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Just say we were chatting a little bit about, before the show started, our relationship with international schools and the CISA organization and the CIAAA. So we're going to talk a little more about the CIAAA today and their relationship with international schools and what could be something down the road we can look forward to with this friendship.
Why don't you start off with telling us who you are and what your role is and maybe how you got to where you are right now?
Sounds good. Yeah, as Matt mentioned, I'm the executive director for CIAAA, and a little bit about how I got to this point. Straight out of high school, I started coaching at my old high school. Obviously, that was kind of an interest right away, and I was able to, sort of gain a passion of sport from the other side of things, and basketball was my sport. So I spent 5 years as an assistant coach with the boys team at my high school, and then there was an opportunity to head coach the women's team there, and I took that opportunity. And kind of as that happened, and I was finishing my undergrad degree, which was in math, which is totally unrelated, I started thinking about what I was going to do with my life and realized it wasn't going to be a math professor like I had maybe thought a few years before. So I was loving coaching, and I decided to pursue a master's degree in coaching. And so I did that degree at the University of Alberta from 2013 to 15. And, the degree obviously had a ton of really interesting courses and practical coaching experience, but a lot of what we learned was around the business side of sport and the administrative side of sport. And so the degree finished, and no one immediately hired me to be a university head coach, so I had to find work. And luckily, there was a really good opportunity in Edmonton to help run the high school athletics leagues. And I did that for a couple of years, and then the opportunity at CIAAA opened up. My predecessor, Tyler Callahan, was moving on to different things in his life, and there was an opportunity for the executive director role with CIAAA, and here I am. I'm sort of just ending my third year with the organization now.
Cool. Well, we know Tyler, and Matt, why don't you talk about the relationship we've had just briefly with CIAAA and bringing them international?
Kind of the background of this was a group of athletic directors from the CISA, our local association. We were looking for PD opportunities for the athletic directors, and we got in touch with the NIAAA, and we started taking more courses, and we were getting more interested as the years went by in course development, but more specifically for international school athletic administrators. And the NIAAA was pretty instrumental in pointing us towards the CIAAA because of the way they started their association. They started adapting and developing courses from the NIAAA to suit the needs of Canadian athletic administrators. So they put us in touch with John and with Tyler, and we had an opportunity to meet them in Indianapolis a few times, also at the national conference that the NIAAA puts on every year. So we kind of developed this like sense, or this like relationship, and that we were trying to develop courses and PD programming that was similar to the NIAAA but different in the way the content is provided. So that's kind of the background of how we got involved. And we also brought them out. We brought some folks out from the CIAAA to teach some courses at some of the CISA conferences over the years. I think they came out about 2 or 3 different times. So we had fostered a nice relationship with those guys.
Because I think, high schools in Canada are a lot more similar to maybe international schools are than big U.S. high schools. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, but you don't have massive crowds at Canadian high school games and worried about security and all sorts of college scholarships, not to the extent of U.S. high schools, right?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think you hit it on the head. Things like event management mean different things in Canada at most places than they do in the US. And obviously, if you get a big tournament or a big playoff game, then it approaches those levels. But the day-to-day operations are definitely different in most Canadian schools than they would be in the States.
Yeah, that's where we found we could find more similarities with the Canadian guys than we could with the stateside ADs.
Well, I'm from Southern Ontario, from St. Catharines, and I grew up playing high school hockey, and didn't know there was an AD. Our school didn't have one. I didn't know that was a job. So is that just because of where I'm from in Canada, and maybe out west it's there's a lot more ADs, or is it just something that's changed over the years? Like what?
Yeah, I think now it probably has started to change. I would say a very high percentage, if not all, high schools have an athletic director, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a job. I think in a ton of Canadian schools, there's no consideration at all for the athletic director, no extra time given. So they would be teaching a full load and then doing sort of the athletic director work because someone volunteered them to do it and because they're passionate about it. But most Canadian athletic directors, that's probably the case for, that it's not their job. It's something they do on the side. There is starting to be a growing number of schools, especially the bigger schools, sort of recognizing how challenging and how time-consuming the role is, and starting to recognize it either by reducing teaching load or, providing or naming that role as a department head role, so there's a bit of extra money in it, or things like that. And then some of the private schools have full-time athletic directors. I'm not sure that any public school that I know of has that. So,
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also similar to international schools, how varied it is.
Yeah.
Because we could have a teacher as well that's teaching all day and then trying to organize the teams afterwards, or full-time positions too. So that's cool. When you said how schools are starting to realize, because we think of our job as so important to impact the kids, and not just each coach doing his own thing. We're really the glue bringing it all together to make sure that all the programs are, focusing on the right thing. So is that something you see come out in admin? Like, are you discussing with admins about the role of ADs at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a focus, a growing focus for our organization. So we've provided some direction, and we've worked with some bigger schools just around pieces like communicating with your admin, making sure the admin is aware of what you do. Honestly, even going into the principal's office at 6 p.m. because you're the only two people left in the building, and just making sure they know that you're the other person left in the building, right? And, a lot of administrators come from athletics, but the ones who don't, and that's also a lot, often just aren't aware of how much is involved and how much work the athletic director does to tie the program together, both from the capacity you talked about, like making sure we're teaching the right things, that the coaches are going the right direction, have support, but also just like the time-consuming stuff like scheduling and all those things, making your facilities work, making sure that equipment's back where it's supposed to be, and coaches for the next season sports are in place, and all those things. So we've started to work a lot more with athletic directors on that, and we came out with an updated strategic plan just at the start of this year, and sort of the 5-year goal of the plan, the long-term goal of the plan, is to have a lot more widespread sort of recognition of the athletic director role as sort of a part of schools admin, so that it becomes much more common that there are athletic directors who that's the job they do at their school. So, I think it's a lofty goal, but it's really important for us to always have that at the back of our mind and try and be working towards it.
Right. Absolutely. Especially when like child safety and, child protection is growing in importance, just to have it, to whoever's doing it or whoever has extra time late at night after they've finished marking exams, could be pretty dangerous,
Yeah, for sure. And all of us in athletics know the importance of the role and know how many details and the legal aspect, like you mentioned, just how much goes into it. And so we know that if common sense can ever prevail, then we can succeed at this goal of getting more recognition of how much athletic directors do. But I think it just takes time and effort, and you need to communicate with so many of the right people that eventually some of them start to say, yeah, we need to recognize this in a different way.
Yeah, so part of your job is basically to sell to administrators, school administrators, the value of the AD's role in the school. And do you also talk about your program and what you offer for athletic directors in terms of professional development?
That's definitely part of it. And, different sort of high-level administrators, like at the board level or whatever, will respond to different things. Some just, they want the legal courses because they see that we can instruct on that and that helps protect them. And so that's what they're interested in. But others see things like, others see in a different way, and they see something like school culture course or student leadership development, and they think, wow, that's paying on. And if we can get our people trained in helping, that will trickle down to the students and to the effectiveness of their schools. So we do try and promote our program, and it's definitely a growing part of the conversation in parts of Canada. But of course, I think like anything, growth and change is very slow. So you just have to kind of be patient and consistent, and we have to always recognize that little successes are still successes, I would say.
Yeah, for sure, especially over a massive scale. Canada's not small, so
yeah. And it's so different. Even, we could say the provinces are different, but even school board by school board, it's so different. We have a fantastic relationship with one school board in a city, and we're running a course or two for them every year. And the other school board in the same city, has no interest whatsoever. So, it's a matter of building the relationships you can, and sometimes not getting too worried about the ones you can't build for now, and just growing the program that way.
So a district or a system that would not have an interest, what would be, I guess, a delimiter or a hurdle for you to come over to kind of get them to come on board? Or what's driving them to not want to buy in?
I think sometimes their defense mechanism is to just, or the go-to is that, athletics are not core to school programming. And so if that's the message they want to communicate, then there's not much we can do about that. If they're saying they're not spending money on non-core items, then all their professional development dollars go towards core competencies in their school, then there's nothing we can do except try a different angle or try a different person or wait a couple years until there's new leadership and things like that. And often the leadership changes, and that's what changes our luck in those places. But sometimes their concern is about money, and we can always work with people on that, because we can find ways to program that are less expensive, or that where we bring in programming for them in the first year at no cost, with some kind of commitment for a second year, or different kind of things. The key for us, obviously, our organization has to run every day, but beyond that, the key for us is to provide support to athletic directors. And so we tried to be really flexible on the financial side and recognize there isn't a lot of money going to athletics in Canada across sort of everything. Right. And so we're really flexible with groups, and if they say we want your programming, we find a way to make it happen. So.
Cool. And
that's great.
You mentioned about you would do courses for them. So a school board can hire you guys to come in and do a course, and people would fly in and not just one maybe, but a couple courses at a time.
Yeah, that's kind of been our biggest focus the last couple of years, in terms of programming, is trying to see where people can use us. And fly-in is probably a bad example, because I'm talking more about a school board of 17 schools will say we want to do something, and their schools might be, if it's a rural district, which a lot of them are, their schools might be 2 or 3 hour drives from each other.
Okay.
And so we'll run it in the most central location for that district, and then everyone will drive in, and we'll run a course. That's the other thing, is being willing to run a course for not that many people, and having it be about, quality programming for our members, rather than, making sure we get it to the most people possible. So we've moved to, we used to run institutes where we would try and get, offer people 4 or 5 courses in a weekend and a central location for everyone in the province or whatever. But we were finding just people not able or willing to commit to that type of thing. And so we've moved more towards really trying to build relationships on a smaller scale and just run stuff when that smaller group can work. So we'll go to someone's athletic directors meeting for their zone, where they have a 3-hour meeting in the morning, but we'll run a workshop and a course for them in the afternoon or something like that.
Yeah. I guess like people going to somewhere, like that's commonplace here, but we all get enough PD money that we can spend on such things. But I mean, if coaches aren't even getting paid to coach in Canada or in most parts, then they're also not getting PD money to make them, better ADs and that. So it would be hard. For sure.
Yeah. So we find our opportunities, and we do the best we can.
Yeah. What about the conference? You're supposed to have a national conference this year. Obviously, it got canceled, like so many other things, unfortunately. Was that a massive event for you? Is it devastating for the organization now that you don't have that income? Or
I think it's devastating from just from an organizational standpoint, not financially, but just that's the highlight of our year, and it is growing in popularity. Obviously, we don't have a conference the size of the NIAAA's conference. Just the amount of people and the popularity of it's just a different kind of thing. But our conference really is growing in popularity. We're seeing way more sort of return attendees than there were in past years, and the numbers are growing. And this year was our first year that we had a partnership in British Columbia, and because of that, with BC School Sports, and because of that, the conference was being hosted in Vancouver, which was going to be a popular location for lots of people all over the country. And so we were very excited, and we had lots of good things planned. We had 2 phenomenal speakers coming in as kind of our keynotes. And so just to cancel from that perspective, I think it's the best part of our year. And so that was too bad. Financially, so far, because the conference is relatively small, it's really a break-even event for us. So, that cost is not going to be too significant. We're hoping to run it in Vancouver again next year, and we have a lot of our deposits on hold with places there. So hopefully we'll come out okay. Obviously, anytime you're canceling an event, there are some losses and things, but I think it's more disappointing from an organizational standpoint, and for the people who were hoping to come, than anything else.
I almost attended a CIAAA conference one year. It was the one in Canmore that got washed out because of the flooding, and they had a crazy storm that came through there and washed out Canmore. We actually did a lot of damage there. And I don't know if you were a part of the organization back then, but or maybe you heard the stories.
Yeah.
And it was too bad I couldn't make it up there, because I was coming up from Montana with a good buddy of mine who's an international athletic director as well, but didn't get a chance to make it up that year, and haven't had a chance yet. But one of these days, I hope to get one of your conferences.
Oh, that would be great. And a funny story about Canmore, because the next time that our organization returned to Canmore was last year for our national conference at the end of April, and we first of all had a power outage at the hotel in the middle of the conference, but luckily our hotel had a great generator that clicked in right away, and so nothing was really disrupted. But then on the we thought we were getting off pretty easy from Canmore standards for the CIAAA, and then as everyone's starting to drive home, this crazy snowstorm that could never happen in April blew in, and some people's 3-hour drives home turned into overnights and things like that. And me and my wife were driving home, only planning to stop in Calgary and see some friends after, and we got like stranded on a main road in Calgary that we had to shovel our way out of, and shovel and push 100 cars up a ramp to get onto a freeway, because it was so icy and snowy that anyone without their winter tires still on was stuck. So I don't know if the CIAAA is eager to go back to Canmore, even though it's a beautiful place.
It looks like an amazing place. Yeah, we had just gotten past the border, and then we got the phone call saying, sorry, we're going to have to cancel the conference. So we were coming up, like I said, from Montana. So we got about a half hour into Canada. We got the phone call. We were like, turn around, go back.
Wow. That's brutal.
Yeah, it was tough. So with the CIAAA, I don't know, maybe you want to expand on a little bit about the history of the organization. You can tell us a little bit about how it got started and connections with the NIAAA in terms of getting things going. Because there's a lot, like I said earlier, there's a lot of parallels to how you guys developed your courses and the organization itself, and how the international guys have done it.
Yeah. I can kind of do my best to bring you from then till now. Obviously, I've only been a part of the organization for 3 years, but I know that it started as an initiative in Alberta. There were people attending the NIAAA National Conference for years, and obviously seeing it's a really motivating environment, and just the professional development available to athletic directors is so important. So just kind of seeing that and starting to think, hey, could we do this on our own? Could we address, the differences in Canada, and start thinking about this on our own here? And a small group of people in Alberta started putting it together, and the AIAAA was formed in 2006 or 7, and they started to build some of the courses as Canadian versions of the course, starting with the basic ones, 501, 502, and 504, and just slowly going from there. They ran, they went out to small communities and ran courses, and they ran some leadership training institutes, and they would often bring in an American instructor to run some courses that we hadn't developed yet. And it grew over time, and province of Saskatchewan started to get interested as well, and out of that the CIAAA was formed. Initially, it was we were trying to run provincial associations and the national association as well, but what we've realized over time, I think, is that there's just not enough participation yet to be running tons of different organizations. So the CIAAA has kind of taken over and serves all of our member provinces, and tries to serve all of Canada the best we can. Currently, we're active with 3 partnerships, in the 3 Western Canadian provinces, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and BC. And so what that means for us is that every athletic director in those 3 provinces, every athletic director at a high school, is a member of CIAAA. That's the way that we've built our organization in order to sort of stabilize our funding model, and make sure that we're providing a lot of service there. And the goal is to be in every province. My predecessor, Tyler, lived in Ontario for the last few years that he was doing the job, and made a big effort to make some kind of a partnership in Ontario. And it's still a work in progress. It's not a perfect fit for a lot of different reasons. But I hope over time that relationship is still building, and I hope over time we'll be there too. We're starting to work with Manitoba High School Athletic Association, and so as our capacity grows, the places that we serve will grow, and hopefully eventually every athletic director in Canada is a member. So we're starting to grow that way, and I think that's our long-term goal for sure.
Cool. Great. And maybe because the conference is canceled, you're running a pretty extensive webinar series online now. So, that's one way that people outside, of your area right now can get a glimpse and see what the CIAAA is like. So, you just mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thank you. Yeah. The webinars have been interesting because it's always something people want whenever we survey or anything, or when we're talking to people. We want a webinar because it's easy. We can get on it. But then we'll set a webinar schedule with a few webinar courses, and we'll get 4 people, 5 people, 7 people to register. And we run them because, as long as it's more than 2, we can do it, whatever. But obviously that's not ideal, and we're not hitting home if that's what's happening, but it's kind of proving that it's just a matter of people feeling like they have the time and whatever. And it's always, athletic directors are also always coaching 1 or 2 or 3 sports. So they're coaching year round, and, a lot of people have kids and all these things. So we surveyed about running a webinar series now that teachers are not at their schools and kind of have some more flexibility in their schedule. And we got amazing response to the survey. And so we decided to run every single course we surveyed about. So that's why we're going with 9 courses in just over 5 weeks here. And we have unbelievable registration right now. So our first course is happening tomorrow. And there's over 30 people attending, so that'll for sure be a record for our webinars. We talked about splitting it into 2 sessions, but this course will lend itself well to a large group. But if we see some of the other courses that are coming up sort of build to those numbers, we may split some of them with 2 different instructors and 2 different sessions and things. So we're really excited about the response to that. And yeah, hopefully it usually all it takes is for one person to take one course, and then they realize how valuable it is, both to get content that's relevant and to connect with people who are doing the same job you are. So hopefully we'll have some new believers by the end of the month here.
And that's something positive to come out of this, the way, tune way more people in, just especially by spacing them out. So maybe someone that takes that first course, like you said, then goes and tells 2 or 3 other people, hey, I just did this. There's another one coming up soon.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we just, Matt and I, we out of our website ran a conference, and we didn't know who was going to turn up. We're all at home in our basements, and we had 800 different people come in for at least one session. So, where people are out there looking for something to do and to get better.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And I think you're right that, I'm not surprised that athletic directors are trying to find ways to get better. It's kind of, I always find when I interact with people, it's really like the cream of the crop. It's people who, especially because they're volunteering mostly to do this job, it's people who are really passionate about it and really want to do a good job at it. So, that's always fun to see.
Do you have any more questions or?
Yeah, I was going to ask, we talked a little bit at the beginning also about the content of the courses we have as international folks that we've developed with the NIAAA. Some of our listeners might not be familiar with the differences between the NIAAA and the CIAAA. I know from my past experience there are differences in the content between the 2 organizations. I don't know if maybe you want to touch a little bit on that, like the differences of the CIAAA courses, the content that you offer, and like how is it different from the NIAAA's? They're
Yeah. Some of the courses are very similar, and the courses where they're written for athletics, the content doesn't need to be changed that much. So things like student leadership development, that's largely the same everywhere in the world. Obviously, there can be subtle differences. Or things like management and leadership, 608 and 719. Those courses, again, management styles are the same. The options are the same, whether you're in Canada or the US or in Vienna or Budapest. So, those courses have just been modified a touch, but mostly we use a lot of the same content. But then things like the legal courses have been completely rewritten because obviously Canadian law is different, and so it has to reflect that. And I mean, law even within our provinces are different from each other, so we try and point to those differences within our course and things like that. And the other thing is we've started to develop a few of our own courses. We have a course on creating your athletic handbook, which is 602C, and that doesn't have an American version. We had two of our LTP faculty, have the idea to write this course and create it. And actually, it's been really popular at the NIAAA conference. We've been able to run it for the last probably 6 years now. And because they don't have an equivalent, they have our instructors come and run it, and it's been a great course. And then 2 years ago, we developed a course called Building Your School Culture Through Sport, 722C. And again, just a great made in Canada course. Not that it doesn't apply anywhere else, but just that it hadn't been done yet. And again, we were able to run it at the NIAAA conference for the first time and have 60 people attend. And so, it's been really interesting. We've gone from, we probably started with the first 3 courses. Now we have 19 courses that are Canadian versions of the course. And, some of them, like I said, some of them are very similar, and others have been changed a lot or are completely our own.
Right. Well, I didn't realize those were offered at the national conference in the States. I've taught a class the last 2 years, so I've kind of been focused on what I have to do to get ready, and not else what else was going on out there.
Sure.
Are those 2 courses both are going to be offered online coming up?
Actually, 722 is tomorrow. That's the first course that's kicking off our our event.
And listeners, that won't be tomorrow, unfortunately, because we're not going to put it out the same day we record.
There you go.
Just after, but very very soon.
Yeah, but 602C is being offered at the start of June. It's actually an excellent course for people that are interested, and I think one that could really hold its relevance sort of for international ADs or anyone. That's the Creating Your Athletic Handbook course. Cool. And I think it's valuable for people who already have one and just want some tips and ideas on how to improve it, but really valuable for those who have never created one and just learning how much time you can save later and headaches you can save later by having a quality athletic handbook in place. Sure. So, yeah. And
we'll put the links obviously in the description and everything, but if we go to the CIAAA website with the list of all your webinar series, is that there for?
Yeah, that's the top of our homepage right now, is featuring the webinar series, so it should be easy to find for anyone who's interested, for sure.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
Well, let's take a quick ad break. We don't want to forget our other ad, and we'll come right back and try to wrap this up.
Coach Evaluator is the premier coach evaluation software for schools and athletic organizations and preferred coach evaluation solution of the NIAAA and the Positive Coaching Alliance. The system is completely customizable with an always growing evaluation template library for athletic directors to reference. Coach Evaluator offers a built-in workflow tracking each coach evaluation from start to finish, including document uploads and email notifications. There are not only evaluations for ADs to use, but also self-evaluations and parent-player evaluations of coaches. There is built-in detailed historical reporting allowing the athletic director to analyze their coach's performance over time. Learn more about digitizing and simplifying your coach evaluation process by visiting www.coachevaluator.com. Mention Globetrottin ADs to receive a $200 discount on the yearly rate. Right. So I just wanted to ask Drew if, we're actually obviously international school athletic directors and working in those capacities here. So are you familiar with our programs and how they operate?
In some ways, probably not as much as I could be, but I have a decent understanding of what happens. Yeah.
Okay. But like I said earlier, that's why it's great to have you on to explain how Canadian ADs work and how programs run there, and the relationship you guys have with the NIAAA is similar to how international school folks do. And I think it's still just great that we can all get together. We have this common connector, which is these associations and the professional development opportunities. So we definitely hope to see that they continue on, and maybe we'll see the CIAAA guys back out for a CISA conference someday. Who knows, over here in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one of the things we've done is prioritize, some opportunities to travel for some of our volunteers, because our board obviously, serves as a board of directors and does the things that a board needs to do. But everyone who's served on the CIAAA board has gone way above and beyond. And so anytime we can find an opportunity to reward them with a chance to travel and do something valuable for the organization, but also go somewhere, is a privilege. So we haven't been back to Europe for a while. We needed to tighten things up on the budgetary end for a little bit, as you can understand. But we've sort of been able to clean that up, and in the last year or two, sent a lot more people to the NIAAA conference than before. And I hope there will be opportunities for some of our instructors to come back out to your conferences and share and collaborate. Not only is it a great opportunity, as I described, for that, but also, our course content improves when we present to different kind of people, because we get different feedback, and we hear, what works and what happens in other schools, and we can add that in and incorporate it. So it would be great to be back.
Okay, great. Cool.
Yeah, it's always been a positive collaboration, and it's interesting. Like, you find folks who are in our roles in our international schools, the ADs and activity coordinators, and you'd be amazed by how many of them are actually Canucks as well. So they really appreciate that connection to your organization and what you guys have to offer.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I want to get a bit serious then. We'll kind of wrap it up. I want to ask you, Drew, a question about stereotypes. Okay, and you can see me. I know everyone else is just listening, but I'm going to put something on and see what you think about it, because I know there's lots of stereotypes. Everyone asks me if I'm Canadian, I play hockey, right? Do you play hockey? You're from Canada. Well, from someone from Ontario, who I just put on a 99 jersey, a 1978 Edmonton Oilers jersey, I want to know, does everybody in Edmonton like Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers?
First of all, when I saw you grab the jersey, I saw the orange, but I wasn't sure if it was red, so I wasn't sure if you were coming with an Oiler jersey or coming to bug me with a Calgary Flames jersey. But but the answer to your question is yes. Everyone in Edmonton loves the Oilers. Everyone definitely loves Wayne Gretzky. The only people I don't understand is when the Leafs are in town or the Montreal Canadiens are in town. Somehow it turns into a Leafs home game or a Canadiens home game. But in general, we are a very passionate city, and Edmonton is truly an Oilers city. There are lots of other great sports in town that don't get enough support. But no matter what's happening, the Oilers are always sold out.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. It doesn't wreck my view of Edmonton. I have a picture of Wayne and I behind me right here as well, from when I met him at the Olympics. So that's one good thing about living overseas. Get to see lots of great events and have these people just around, So that's pretty cool. No, I always wanted to know that. But before we go, really tell us something about Edmonton or Western Canada for someone who's maybe never been. What's a great thing to do or see out there?
Edmonton is actually a great city in the summer. It has a reputation of not maybe being. Everyone's heard of West Edmonton Mall, and because of Wayne Gretzky, everyone's heard of the Oilers. But Edmonton's reputation probably isn't as strong as it should be. It's a beautiful city from May till October or so, and we have a wonderful river valley. But I would say if I'm representing Canada and I'm talking about Western Canada,
sure.
The Rocky Mountains are a place that anyone would travel and think is one of the most beautiful and wonderful things in the world. I think even most Canadians don't appreciate enough what a treasure it is. There's really nothing like Banff and Jasper, and And so anyone looking for a holiday idea once we can all travel again, I would say summer or winter, you could ski or hike. Being in the Rocky Mountains is one of the best things you could do.
Cool. Very cool. Matt, you're a mountain guy. I know you like to do all that.
Yeah.
You been there?
No, not yet. Like I said, unfortunately, not since the Canmore debacle, but hopefully one of these days we'll get out there and see what's out west. I've been to Montana. I guess it's kind of similar, but further up north, I'm sure it's a lot more Alpsy like and Rocky Mountains, which I would definitely love to see sometime.
Yeah, well, that would be it. April 2021. Do you have a date?
Well, we're hoping April 2021 in Vancouver, and there's beautiful Whistler Mountains about an hour and a half away as well, and Vancouver's on the ocean. So anyone looking for a Canadian experience and some PD, hopefully we'll be able to finalize that in the next few weeks, but late April 2021.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right, Drew. Well, thanks I know we've been trying to get this done for a while, and I appreciate you taking the time and being on with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. Really happy to talk to you guys and speak on behalf of CIAAA. So thanks a lot for the opportunity.
All right. Thanks a lot, Drew.
Until next week, this has been another episode of the Globetrottin ADs.